Hey everybody, it is Becky, Will, and John hopping into your feeds. Excited to talk to you about all things PPC and just wanted to bring something new to the table today. Whenever we're talking about different things that we want to discuss, we're always trying to find things that are new. What new things is Google offering? What kinds of different things are there when it comes to options of things that you can do at Google? And one thing that's kind of been a lot of buzz around is this new pilot program where individuals and businesses can actually pay Google for advice. And, that's something that I get asked a lot of questions about. Are you guys going to be able to help me better? Should I pay Google for advice? What are your thoughts on this? And so I wanted to bring that to the table today, have a little roundtable discussion between the three of us about your thoughts around that pilot program and what you think that could be beneficial about it, what might be negative about it. Let's just kind of get into our ideas surrounding that program and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, totally. So Google announced this program, or at least people started seeing information about it. I think it was in August. And what they're doing is they're trialing this program where they're reaching out to select advertisers and some agencies and saying, hey, you can pay us for advice. I know one place I saw, I think it was about maybe a $50 charge for, I think maybe an hour phone call, something like that. And so the idea is that it's really oriented towards smaller businesses or agencies who want to tap into some expertise about how to make their campaigns perform better. And it sounds good. But is it good? I've got some thoughts there. Will, I know you've got some thoughts as well. So, a couple things come to mind. If it's anything like the advice that we are often given from team members from Google who reach out to us to support our clients' accounts, or who reach out directly to our clients and say, hey, you should do this or do that, then I would strongly caution taking advantage of this, because the reality is that often those recommendations that Google are making are based upon two things. Ultimately, it's how does Google make more money? Because Google's a business, they've got revenue targets they need to hit, which we just learned more about with this Department of Justice antitrust lawsuits going on that Will, I know you can speak to. So that's Google's main goal, but then there's also the reality that a lot of the team members who reach out and say, hey, I've got advice for you, I can make the accounts better, they're actually incentivized internally based upon getting advertisers to follow different best practices, like opting into particular auto-apply recommendations or using smart bidding or things like that. And while in general those best practices are, in theory, good things to do, they are not customized to the nuances and history of each particular account. And so we'll often see Google recommend, you should be doing X. And there's a very logical reason why we're not doing X. Maybe we tried X and it failed, so we're stopping doing X, or X just doesn't make sense for this particular client. So you've got to take any recommendations from Google with a big grain of salt. And I would say that's very much going to be the case too, even if you are paying them for advice and they are taking your money to tell you how to give them more money, essentially. Will, I'm curious to get your thoughts as well, in the context too of some of the things that we've learned recently with this antitrust trial that's going on.
So with the DOJ lawsuit that's going on now, it was divulged that they've been inflating advertising spend by up to 10% in some advertisers' cases on the cost of ad spend in order to meet their internal revenue goals at Google. So it's something to keep in mind as it relates to whose best interest Google has versus whose best interest you have as a business owner or as an advertiser and working with an agency. You have to follow the money. But related to working with different levels of Google reps, a lot of those are in a vacuum. Those are going to be great recommendations, and there's opportunities that you can take advantage of, but they don't always take into account your specific business or the strategy that you have or the goals that you need to hit. So one of the opt-ins that your Google rep may try and get you to adhere to would be different auto-apply recommendations, like you mentioned, John. And there's different tiers of those, but we've seen in case after case where just blindly applying those doesn't work. And when we have businesses that come to us with accounts where they've done that, they'll, for instance, there's an auto apply recommendation for actually auto creating ad copy or updating headlines, things like that. And it will actually go against Google's own policies. So whether that's how the text is incorporated, whether it's all in all caps versus title case or lowercase or sentence case, or even adding in phone numbers, things like that directly into the headline in a way that doesn't comply with Google's policies. So, it's one of those things where it's not even in Google's best interest to apply those because it would break their own policy. But then as well as bid strategies, we love to leverage automated bid strategies whenever possible, whether that's target return on ad spend versus target cost per acquisition. But depending on your goals, you may not be able to effectively opt into a revenue-based bid strategy. And so if Google says, hey, this is going to be best, if you do this, let's apply it. And we've seen cases where clients thinking they were following Google's best practices have opted into those, and then they see revenue tank, or they see the number of conversions they were tracking drop off the map because the bid strategy wasn't aligned with their internal strategy. And so you have to take, like you said, John, you have to take all of that with a grain of salt and match up Google's recommendations with what your business needs to do to see success.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great example. I've seen that thing too, where the system is like, oh, do this, and it's literally violates Google's policies. I've actually seen situations too where changes made by a Google team member literally got an account suspended. So, for example, we had a client where they got suspended for circumventing systems. And once we dug into things, we realized that the Google team member who'd been working with them had added site links to their ads that pointed to other domains like Google My Business and things that were not the client's domain. And that violates Google's policies because you're not allowed to send to multiple domains, for a single ad from different links. And so once we removed those and fixed those, we got that client unsuspended. But there wasn't even a change history of those things being added because when Google team members add things to accounts, that doesn't show up in change history. So fun little thing to be aware of. I think some additional context to add to what you mentioned as far as the DOJ antitrust lawsuit and what just came out from that is Google essentially, they're admitting that in order to hit revenue targets, they will sometimes increase like the thresholds of what you need to pay to get traffic. And the best way to think about it is Google, they like to say it's an auction. When you say I'm going to bid X amount for a click on my ad, and you go into an auction compared to everybody else and you get a click, you don't get a click. It's not truly just an auction though, because there are these thresholds in place. So it's not like, hey, everyone, if someone bids 1 cent and you bid 2 cents, you win and you only have to pay 2 cents. No, Google will have thresholds where, hey, if no one's bidding above a certain amount in this, for this keyword or this category, they're not going to show an ad because they would rather, not show an ad or show us a different type of ad than show your ad and give you a really cheap click. And so that's basically what they're saying is they will change those thresholds at times of what you have to bid in order to get a click based upon their revenue goals, which is scary when you're using smart bidding, which is automated bidding, and you're letting Google work with things. That's not to say you shouldn't use those things, because those things can still be very effective, but you just shouldn't blindly trust Google, like you mentioned, Will. That's where, again, you got to keep those incentives in mind. Google's incentive is to make money as a business. If you're working with an agency, the agency's incentive, like Stub Groups, for example, is to make you, their client, successful, because that's how we make money. When we make our clients successful, we keep working with our clients, they keep paying us. So that's our goal. So you just got to make sure where your incentives aligned, who is going to make money based upon the recommendations and changes that are being made. And yeah, I'm not bashing Google. I'm not saying they're horrible and terrible and do all sorts of bad things, but you got to keep those incentives in mind. They want to make money. And so take what they recommend, what they suggest, with a grain of salt, and get a third-party opinion when you can. Anything, Becky, you guys would add, would add before we wrap up today's conversation?
Yeah, I just think that it just reiterates the difference in what Google Ads is today versus what Google Ads was a couple of years ago or even 6 months ago. There was a day where you could run your own Google Ads for your business. There was a day where you could have one PPC guy that was doing it for your business. today's not that day anymore. We're at a place where if you want to successfully run Google Ads in a way that's profitable for your business, you have to have somebody on your side that understands the inner workings of those campaigns, whether it's coming from bid strategy or knowing that costs are inflated and we need to pivot and start targeting some other type of keyword, or hitting a different impression share when it comes to our campaigns. And that's really what we do. That's why we talk about this stuff, because in the long run, I tell so many leads this, we're tied to your growth. The way that we work as an agency is set up so that the more you succeed, the more we succeed. And without having that partner there, it's really easy to slide into spending money that is just being wasted, or even getting in a place where Google suspends you and you can't spend money at all. So I'd like to say what we always say, and that's that if you're looking for help with those campaigns, if you just want us to look at them for free and give you some advice, we are happy to do that. We've got a team full of people that really want to see your business thrive and succeed. So, that's my end comment for the day. I'll let John sign off as always.
And if you're watching this video and you just want more free content about how to dominate Google Ads, how to fix Google policy issues, takes like this on the latest and greatest of what's coming out in Google Ads and digital advertising, hit subscribe on our YouTube channel so you don't miss another video, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.